You work in a firewatch tower, deep in the forest. The sun is setting, and your coworker in the other tower is signing off for the night. You glance out at the dark landscape outside when suddenly you get a call. A call that will change your life forever, maybe even end it. This is the horror of Do You Copy? I've always been a fan of indie horror games. It is always interesting and charming to explore the themes and ideas that small time developers come up with in an attempt to scare the player. It is no denying that the majority of the indie horror scene is oversaturated with copy paste rip off games and stolen ideas, attempting to capitalize on other games' success. But every once in a while, a game stands out, a game that is daring enough to attempt something new. There are an overwhelming amount of horror games out there that has you running around in a forest at night being chased by some sort of monster or creature. But what if you weren't the one the monster was chasing? What if you weren't even really down amongst the trees at all? Well, that's exactly the premise of this game. The story and gameplay is very simple. You play as a Firewatch guard sitting up in a tower at night when suddenly you get a call on the radio from a man in distress. He tells you that he's getting chased by some sort of monster, and your goal is to, with the help of your map, guide him through the forest safely. You listen to the man on the radio describe different landmarks to get an understanding of where on the map he is at all times. Throughout the years, a lot of people have discussed what a second person game would look like, and Do You Copy is probably one of the best examples of what that would be. Sure, you do technically control the Firewatch guard from a first person perspective, but the actual gameplay itself comes from telling a different character how to navigate throughout the game. Instead of being in the first person of I will run to this house, your every move plays out in the second person of you will run to this house. It is a little hard to put into words, and there are different angles to argue what truly makes something second person, but at least I hope you understand where I am coming from when I call this a second person horror game. But if you're not getting chased by any monster yourself, what makes this game so scary? Well, I would argue that it all comes down to the fear of the unknown. Have you ever started up a new horror game and wandered around all tense and afraid, not knowing what sort of creature will appear? But then later, once it does, and you start learning what it is and how it behaves, the fear factor quickly fades away. Do You Copy recognizes this and it uses it to its strength rather than weakness. By not having you yourself go face to face with the monster, it keeps you in a constant state of tension and fear of not knowing what is truly out there. All you get is the man's panicked voice, the terrifying sounds in the distance, and the glowing eyes amongst the trees. The game leaves it up to you to let your mind wander and come up with all sorts of terrifying ideas of what the creature might be. And even though you're not actually down amongst the trees, the tower you're in hardly offers much protection. You constantly know that if the creature wanted to get you, it absolutely could, making you constantly glance over your shoulder to make sure you're actually alone up there. The game is a very interesting short horror experience. It offers multiple endings, giving it some replay value. I won't spoil what these endings are. Instead, I would encourage you to go out and play it for yourself and see where the game ends up taking you.